Mame fa say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de o se dem yopo.
Se maba wa menya disua yi. Se me fa ne se me kwa me nkoma na me gina court wanimu. Na court ama freezing order. Se bia yen freeze my account we yen freeze my japade we yen say me fa passport meto na me di nyina me di court so mra so se de etie pepepe na ye ba court ye di court akwane aba emira bi me bedru court na mama me lawyer say application bi se me panchan ka me sre court na dawroma ka oma me nko abrochire nkohwe me ho yade court si ane po ko ho yade ansa na be this application yi ba no na me kwa me nkruma ya freeze me account nyina ya freeze bibia me sika bibia ene bia me japade a me wo me psa ba court mira bia prosecution ne say I wa drop charges no me pia abonten a wache me wie ye no sa court order na e freeze my account no wabra o drop charges no eno so drop ana a drop emra mu ye kan say
yo nti bra kwa me anopai meda wase any opportunity a ama me you ene yen emra kakra I say ordinarily no 1992 constitution no one of the basic principles fair trial and then they say a man is presumed innocent until say what pleaded guilty and I say prosecution approving the guilty. But the SNM by way of law, point of law, and then they say the prosecution bears the entire burden to prove the guilt of the accused person. That burden hardly shifts. But at all material time, prosecution award to me we make say the burden say obe prove say kwejo ama ana way guilty.
Counsel, fa and you bet me akase a shifty based on preponderance of probability.
No, in criminal trial there are no preponderance of probability. Matthias only in civil trial. Even in civil trial, sometimes the preponderance may be very higher, almost to the criminal standard. So, for instance, in a civil trial, who alleges fraud against Obi, it takes the burden from the civil way, that's the preponderance to prove beyond reasonable doubt. It means that you need to, because one will say fraud, even in civil matter, can have penal consequences if proven. It requires a higher standard. But you see, the bottom line, I mean, it's a black crime by way of public education. Because the person is presumed innocent, and in our court, no, a woman to me say, or beg granting me panel the FN of bail. You see, for the FN of bail pending trial, in the old bail pending appeal, obi or ya convicted no cry, but with me appealing my court, no, because a year appeal, or I appealing, you know, with me a file the FN of bail, and my court no so higher than a consider money. You see, brah, these trials, no, because of the individuals involved, no, and then they sometimes a year a bit more complicated. Now, one will say, Ghana establishes the Economic and Organized Crime Unit, EOCU, YOKO, no. A man who crime say Yoko or starting investigation crana, which means the FN freezing of your account or the tainted transaction. Into Ovia, now or the assembly quarter, I feel or become for the FN confirmation of that freezing. Now by law, no, administratively, no make me a freeze account administratively. When you have to obey court. But I'm running to say, who did say money within within 14 days, a Sumunko court to confirm that freezing order. Because when we said Article 18.2 of the 1992 Constitution, no, I can say a person has the right to own property. Obibio Mamu Ebia was the right to own property. There are only lawful exceptions. And then say if they are caught at the limit, and they are so the use of that property. It is a car a war account mu a your property. The only circumstance said you will be let me then insert up to your enjoyment or fundamental right to the enjoyment of that property, and then say court a master order no. It's a maybe no yoko by its law no. And so quickly obeko no according the FN freezing confirmation. Now Emran also can say yoko at the freezing confirmation into one account so now a year every do na she and Koswa. Oh, who can so over apply to the court? Ama court no a use freezing order no. Into me kai Emra said you NPP bar power 2017. Around April 2017, and almost started January 2017, and almost started investigation of Dr. Stephen Kwabna Opuni. But also kind of former Kukubo CEO. It is as part of the investigation, Yoko, the FN of freezing of his bank account. It's almost freezing a bank account now. It's not Dr. Opuni and Yahoo Kwine to access his bank account. It is from January, April 2017. April 2018, sorry. And as lawyers for Dr. Opuni, you call High Court, presided over by Justice George Nadasha. In here, call the court, and you can do from April 2017 to April 2018, 1 year now become. Into your best court, no, the court, no, any Tata Bona or Modiato, my account, so that he can access his bank because then if you can, you know, on our account. Into make I see a yes, that application, make run and making sure say a copy of the application was set on Yoko at that time. Into yes, every application, now usually when it's application, 4 days minimum, and a 4 days a year then 2 years. In the 4 days no do you now you call court no Yoko for lawyers ever court. Into Miami Senior Samokujo a movie application to unfreeze the account. Why ye BBA ye I BBA ye. It was ye BBA ye and judge no and lady judge na that a beside Yoko lawyers no say are they opposed to the application? Na back from Omukasi they are not opposed to the application. Into Omukasi say they are not opposed to the application. Wana we send a friend judge na say okay my Kayama Papa moving application I've been a month me say you are not opposed. You should have told me earlier so that I don't waste this time. And or unfreezing account no. But I mean guess what? Oh judge no matter the order on freezing the Dr. Opuni account now you pay fee cost bruh. Less than 2 hours. Now the same Yoko had now filed an ex parte application freezing the account again. I say, what is happening? We were just in court about 2 hours earlier. Move a catch the court and say you are not opposed. Obviously, somebody higher up had just instructed them and said, why did you allow the account to be unfrozen? Until now quickly I think that time now Yoko boys are no your KK Amwa. But I told you.
I know for KK Amwa.
Yes, that
is senior police officer.
Yes, exactly. But but what's happening? We're just in court barely some hours. We say we yes court now behind us expert. In the a formal application at the buyer. And that formal application was to say the account freezing or earlier should be on frozen, let me say.
Abraham mo de buy no na mo grounds ni send because so I drop charges no na was I arrested you. To arrested you. Sa freezing order na twem ana. Eno ye na grounds ana.
Yes. One of the things I can say the statutory 1 year no abetwem.
Okay.
2. Transaction more investigating and so this one of the most important things as I say Obet draw that distinction to the judge. And in say the transaction in question has nothing to do with the details in the account. Majority as here. In the specific case of Dr. Opunino, now almost say 23,000 Ghana cedis. You need 23,000 Ghana cedis in a Sidu Agungo, a man. And that is one of the charges on the board.
3,000 Ghana cedis.
23,000 Ghana cedis. NPP, if they want to disgrace you, there are no mercy. Said you put a bribe by 23,000 or back on it.
I know problem. Make me a movie.
Aha. If I know Nippon 2 can cry anyway, impress cry night to say. Sebi as the chief executive officer, but at that time they were just determined to destroy and disgrace folks. So 23,000 was one of the charges on the board. And so what, now, if you are court in the state judge, look, the bulk of the charges has nothing to do with or no opening per se. It has to do with contract that was given to a company. And those contracts has nothing to do with or any personal bank details. It is a big year. Judge, having any basis at all to place those limits on the bank details. In Abra, you make it that forceful argument. Judge, you know what? Since we are in court, she wants to err on the side of caution. I still remember the judgment vividly on the ruling. Why you go Supreme Court for
so, first judge, a ruling said still now the freezing is in force.
Yes.
I said, Bakuna on my time. There was a time limit to
the 1 year.
1 year, no freezing order ever spent.
Hello, Bakame.
Message send ye Bakuna on my freezing order. Sa order no mine, send now a bra as a secure.
1 year now be chum. In fact, we actually advise him not to do anything until that 1 year. But what is here? If you ohodi on hello, Bakame, but what Jimmy?
It's your pa.
If you hold it on from April 2017 to April 2018 in the two anamono. But back when the interesting thing is that in the judge you call back at this time also freeze the account in the account okay. And you go Supreme Court for Procedural. In the court Supreme Court. Sadana you go Supreme Court, my Lord the chairman panel of the Supreme Court, Omoka say, we have seen the charges that have been preferred against Dr. Stephen Opuni. There's only one count, which has to do with 23,000 Ghana cedis, alleged payment from Sedwa Congo. What's that here? So if that is what the case is, relative to the account, then you can't give a blanket freezing of his account. It's unacceptable. Inti Sadano, the Kaipan says, lawyer for Yoko Oba Court, Mrs. Abbott, and they betrayed the Supreme Court judges for the year. I'm saying, look, we are not going to allow you to turn Yoko into an octopus. A monster.
Hey, Council Buamakakra. ya na Supreme Court edu baby a wo bedru a apart from ruling no wo be so wo mutimi chill address so pa come wo fi wo mutimi say na ohun abaw say sapon wo mudi twi wo timi so wo matwu kama pa me kai say 2012 elections no ebra ya chi nipa bi contempt no over sa election dispute
no say bra kwam ya
no ba ko enum say if you want to be a hero we make you a hero.
Recently there was an issue involving a high court case Procedural in a lawyer no file certiorari against the Procedural high court decision here by Supreme Court. Into lawyer no in semi lawyer no a far judge no Black Kwame, the Supreme Court judges for the year lawyer Nino. Ne yaro. Dress down pa. Almost who crime class or Becca system no after the High Court judge in the affidavit. It's almost finding no class for him to pay personally or something. It's the occupational hazard. But back to the issue. It's also you call a Supreme Court judges for counsel. Look, court, on counsel be freely the details of the person's bank account. However, you have to follow the requirement of law. The charges against the man has to do with one transaction involving a bank. So what you do is to limit.
Dr. Pulidiano, for the whole 8 years in now you say it.
Yes. Thereby, and it says Supreme Court now had to say, you can freeze the account only to the extent of the tainted transaction, and that is 23,000. And obey me withdraw everything in the account, save the 23,000. But what I say?
Oh, Serbia's can acquire 100,000, 1 million Ghana cedis in the demo. Obey me, be an waja 23,000.
Because that is the subject of whole investigation.
Me pass me bo. And our mind now who do a mind sika. Actually, who die and fear what?
No, because there were other charges involving procurement of fertilizers. And some fertilizer. Sedu Agongo company supplied to Cocoa Ball. So there were other charges. But in respect of the bank account, the Supreme Court can say, the bank details, no, and the freezing, no, has nothing to do with those other charges, no. Those other charges has to do with procurement of fertilizer. What has that got to do with the bank details? And that is how come the Supreme Court, in the case of Republic versus the Republic versus High Court, Financial Crime Division, expert Dr. Stephen Kwabnopuni, Yoko as an interested party now. Supreme Court, I can say, only the 23,000 tainted transactions should be frozen. The rest of the account should be open to him. And that day at the Supreme Court, it was bloodbath. The justices of the Supreme Court did not take kindly with the conduct of Yoko. The record of proceedings is an unreported case. Now, Brother Kwame, what makes Hanan's one a bit fascinating in say, it does appear, say, most of the transaction have to do with a number happening using the bank account. And that is where maybe the distinction can be drawn. But it's curious, and some very interesting legal things are coming out. And you've asked them. One, the local courts, now courts know a freezing account based on charges that were filed. Now, the Attorney General subsequently withdraw those charges. No. But you no withdraw those charges now. Now immediately Osacho, right at the premises of the court, Osacho, does that extinguish that order?
And no, the premises of the example now.
Because one would say Yoko has the power to administratively freeze the account. And then within 14 days we'll go for freezing confirmation. Now the question is, was that done by Yoko? Oh. 2. Were criminal charges filed immediately? Now, does it suggest that the mere filing of the new charges restored the old order? And now say, when those new charges were filed, the state prosecutors, when they went to court, did they urge on the court to restore the same conditions and prevailing? These are matters that we need to interrogate further, because we need those additional information to do a fair assessment of how the situation. But you see, Kwame, you see, on this your platform, I've always said something. As public servants, a risk in Kwa. The occupational hazards are so much. Oh dear, watching fita me so me mind. 1 or 2 issues they see. In TSC criminal investigation. What happens? What happens? In this specific case, Sekobane said, and let me make this point. You see, imagine we had woken up, one day, in the SUO, Sebi, Ebia Hanan, and let me use somebody else. I'm not case no customer. Judge a man who crying. Judge no man who crying. We're too crying. One maybe. What would have happened in this country?
Hey, Mwashada! And I'm pressing what now? Say, Sedinam, Tamakrudian be a part 1 and 2.
So you see, sometimes.
Cancel it. It's a member say, be a BNI phone so, and who is sad dear way. It is a be a woman so, it take steps to a vet. Sebi obeko na wamba.
One will say, Sebi, not even the devil knows what is in the mind of an individual.
No.
In fact, to be honest, my federal checks need to say, I'm not a same way by, Hanan echo court, so Sebi, he also obeko breaching for some personal medical reasons. In the court, no craft fair prosecutor, because prosecutors no oppose as a man who crime, and as a judge no more or more who crime man into crime. In the and a judge makes okay, there must be a basis on which I must say man of crime. Only pay also a call for particular medical attention. That attention, the only reason I'm in more attention for bear. Again, say, Obetnyanya the same care in Ghana.
Okay.
Sekobane say Obetnyanya the same care in Ghana, dear. And there wouldn't be the need for him to travel. Say Omunkoshe say that particular way be also Okwakoyeno. If that can be gotten here in Ghana, that appears the answer was not satisfactory to the judge. A better engine or man who crime. I feel that by law, if the Attorney General was not happy with the decision of the trial judge now, they could have appealed it. Majority I say, say if the appeal be unconstitutional, it may suggest that judge no higher than you may disagree with the judge, but you accept the verdict. If you are not money, I Because yes, then to the extent that judge no the man who can say only way no, you may be entitled to, unless of course new and fresh evidence had come. Now this is where it gets very interesting. At what time in a new evidence in a Bible thing? Did the new evidence come at the time when the judge was so sitting, so that you could have quickly approached the judge and say, "Oh my Lord, what are you have on my head? Said you who this A, B, C, D information. Say, how? Said you remember on an area echo through criminal trial. Said, and you do make me Johnny Ajani here. Anna.
You do be a print you.
Oh, Ebia, I'm saying that it's a valid point of view to make. He said,
I want to be a
in a go through the trial. Or no, me a man won't mean Johnny and Yana. No. That's also a point that can be strongly made. The other point that can also be made is that Attorney General, the point now on that, because according to Attorney General for him, the maintenance almost said some withdrawals from the bank. And to the extent so acquire kind of withdrawal, their fear was that Okwa or Maki. That is why they took that extraordinary step.
Counsel,
I want to, yes,
dear Mattis say a lawyers for the defendant, no, they about to judge me say. One was one more Godfrey, was say, one more provide the evidence that she said there was an attempt. So basically, clear sky one account.
So I think that today, this morning, I think the Attorney General's people must be telling the judge something. It's important for the rule of law.
One must say a complete violation of a court order. A man Hanan Kwanse uncle. Now we could do airport or Musuma Chino. Now I'm back to actually court so normal court na side or Attorney General for contempt. We will say
the constitutional democracy area. Nobody is above the law, not even the Attorney General. And so if they believe that they have a valid order of a court, then Attorney General violates here, it's within their right perfectly to bring contempt proceedings. Mindful said the Attorney General also would have the opportunity to defend him or herself as far as the matter is concerned. One would say the thing with prosecution and everything, you wouldn't have the opportunity to tell the people of Ghana that we made a mistake in such a way that we allow the person, if he doesn't come back again, what will happen? What will the people of this country say? If it turns out that the man that is being prosecuted continue to cry and able to be happened. And let me tell you, look, Mekai Emrana represents Mr. Asofo. Because you now, Mekai said there was a day we had to, and because he was also the ranking on the finance committee, I'm call IMF spring meetings now. As the ranking on the finance committee, sometimes you have to go. And so usually I would have to go to the High Court and make a prayer for his passport to be released. Sometimes by the time they go through the process, not passport may be released. No. Now, said you no more years spring meetings. Okay, I'm not representing Colindada and so the same thing. Just said, but you see, what help?
Hello, Council. So the checking mammy now after Yen Comono. Yanni lawyer Godwin Edudzi Macro, Edima, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, head legal, Emma NDC, MPA boss, ɛna yɛne ne ɛtwe nkɔmmɔ yɛ mmaranim ni sɛdeɛ mo am kasa mu nim dada no na yɛne ne didi nkɔmmɔ afa nsɛm bi a ɛho hia ma ɔman na ɛna ahoma no ate kɔ yɛbɛkɔ so atoa so yɛde nkɔmmɔ ɛnɛ tie ha paa tia sɛ ɛno a wodaeɛ nso sɛ woante a norwayfoɔ kye ayifoɔ world cup a yɛbɔ no ɛkye brazil ɛziri wɔ mo paa na ɛno a suo boro wo a wo so ɔboro mi nam sɛ yee brazil na ada ne kɔ abere stars dɛ ɔno a mo bɔ bata nyɛ yie ɔnyɛ na meno akɔ abaa
nana megye so nana megye so
na norwayfoɔ no wɔn ɛyɛ aduro no wɔn akɔgye ana football no wɔn asua ana adeɛ bɛyi
nana how that is divided cannot stand
ɛyɛ divided
Brazil team no
aye
nana baby anyo saa o even Senegalese team yi so I am reliably informed say issues of bonus was here dema tika was here dema na enko into dressing room wono yeah Brazil time next guy basa this free hakoma
$3 million no
aye woman to sa anti Senegal dey say ya woman tina wa me say woman last minute mo mu free mu na wo de wo
hey
nana
eno ano na me ne me ba na ehwe ono kwa na ekire me say most of the Brazilian defenders no old
so
I'll tell me back who is almost 40 or tell me back who is almost 36
hey
aye
ono akra no
me manage football
na no obe FIFA president
mama kwai council saba aba homa no so council me sa mo akwa ba bi o
iti yana me
ato ye tie wo kama onyina ba bi yi ma ye na because so adi nkomo no na sir nana me ban when it comes to even player statistics and all that
onimpa
go se bia we ya share wo ofiri ha na e ban ha ye to ni sei no no kra no sei na otie ba bia abọ ni age a waduro enum ne ade nyina she can tell you off head.
Oh, no, very impressive. Nana, one more.
Defenders, you know, way, nipa bear 4, no. Most of them, Ebro 32.
Wow.
And you know, ama, ena one guy be a friend, Alex Bob.
Yeah.
They me kwaba.
Nana kwaba enka football.
Me FIFA me ko kan on be ham. Okay. Yeah, council me say mo akwa ba bi o.
Black one major so
yeah, emu ye yenko.
Good. You see the point that I'm making and then is some of the require additional facts. Everything apply my fair assessment because you see the AG is coming from the point of view you assuming the opportunity is given. No department to crime. Master you one back. Unlike the two examples now the people were MPs. What I say, the Speaker of Parliament extra class at the count. But you see, some of these issues have all become matters because ordinarily it shouldn't be difficult for an accused person to be permitted to travel. But one is the recent conduct of some accused persons or persons who are under investigation and others. I'm a Ubia apprehension. Ubia enter situation where somebody wants to make a mistake. Look, Mekai, I'm not senior friend of Dr. This trial involving the Kenoforiata is serious. All the issues that came the fact that Otu crying, the fact that people start a man who crying, to crying, I'm a lawyer for, and all kinds of this. So I'm not apprehensive, which should not be the case ordinarily. It should have been so easier to allow an accused person the opportunity to travel, come back, and face the trial. It should have been easy. But when we say, you open a car, I can catch and just say, make sure say, yeah, here and ra, you do in a attack and vanity. But that's a mother.
I. What can you say? You both in some ra, yich.
And that is why it has become a bit easier. Hanan, the team fitter, of a back. But if you are not even the devil knows what is in your head. It's unfortunate. What did I say? It's unfortunate. But that is what we've got into. Bruh. Particularly if it's about medical reasons. But it's unfortunate.
I see. Now, indeed, and I record to name. Now, say, and lawyers say there be one best cited.
I think with this new development, it's important that the AG immediately appraise the court of this new development so that the court can make an informed decision based on this new development. Because once there is a valid, sufficient order of the court, I think that whatever new development must be quickly made available to them. So even if the case is not up for court today, I think the circumstance requires that they go back to the judge and immediately appraise for this new development.
Mami Muso, so I'm going to do court to name. Now I'm going to be a Tressa and Panka. There was an attempt to say, what could you need bank accounts?
That would be problematic. That will be problematic.
And next as I watch that, and son a beer, a jinube to Sana Moy, now be an egina so a dance him.
Yeah, because you need to really go and tell the judge something. Regardless of what you have to go and tell the judge something. Because you see, like I said, there's an order. So who take this extraordinary step? You need to let the judge know why the order you think it should not be obeyed.
Council Boami Hakakra.
Maybe the AG should have appealed the decision immediately when it was given. It would have
Council. Yes. Being sure, no, now only problem be a was a decision no a court no my name Ebra who said there is an attempt.
This attempt no in ama ebia what an argument. And Nana makers so it's important there whatever evidence is not so be ordinance will be he needs to quickly let the judge know. And that will put matters in proper perspective. You see, the other thing, and it's a black woman. Hello, black woman.
Whoa.
The court will make an order in favor of the attorney. I want to believe that the attorney general would want it to be respected. It's the same way. The court will make an order in favor of the accuser. All the parties must respect it. So if there are new developments, I think it's important. It's in another minister say this information about the oil withdrawal, was it an information that came at a time that it was impossible to go back to the court? We need to interrogate that. That Bena Otu Sana Mono, if they are to withdraw the money or the funds from the account, that Ben, was it Thursday? Was it Wednesday? Was it Tuesday? What day was it? If you understand your money,
na Ebra mini udi nkomo ipen koma wo ne yedie na wi ase na etie wi say accounts no stands frozen anaasɛ ɛte sɛn.
So technically, the account, no, at least we must see a valid order of a court saying that the account has been unfrozen. It should be specific. The order should be specific. But what they say,
okay,
the order should be specific. That upon hearing application by so and so on this day, the court hereby unfreeze the account number. So usually the local freeze is now. If I say you specifically list the details of the bank, account number so and so as Fidelity Bank, account number so and so as Ghana Commercial Bank, because Mekai Vivid said open the next Sanchez and another. So the account number, account details, everything is stated specifically in the order. Let's have a closer look at that kind of order from the court, and then we can make an informed decision.
See, Mira, Mamma was in the ready a court on so qua, and also be seen. Namibisa says, for Riata, when ya a permanent city, a permanent residency, says any case in Sanya, Ayamutu.
Oh, one will say there is also an application also before the court. This one is about the status. One will say the U.S. Supreme Court has shown that a person with green card is extraditable. So there was a Japanese national. Hello.
Me part so what down my you?
There was a Japanese national in Oba America. It's Oba America no na onya green card. Subsequently, in the Japanese authorities, a catch the U.S. for say Oba Japan every year some criminal activity. Into a say Omepesi America for no ebe extradition I call Japan to face criminal prosecution in Japan. In a already argument among others we a green card holder into Nyadia or more Mukwine on making extradition of him to Japan to go and face trial. At the end of the could be a U.S. Supreme Court. And U.S. Supreme Court ruling said, regardless of that permanent residency, is an extraditable person, and that he can be extradited to Japan to face criminal trial. So that's a different matter altogether. That's a different matter altogether. In fact, that's the matter that can be fought right up to the U.S. Supreme Court as to whether, notwithstanding the fact that Mr. Kenoforiata award a green card, whether he can be extradited to come and face criminal charges in Ghana. Two, my sister in Kofor Council, the U.S. court made a pronouncement on the charges filed by the special prosecutor. First of all, the U.S. court does not have jurisdiction to make pronouncements or judicially review criminal charges that have been filed against a person here in Ghana. We know cases is here. So we say the Ghanaian court have extradited a branch of offender Butrika by the High Court to go and face charges in the U.S. All these things can happen.
Counsel. And someone Crawford can say, the man in question, that is Honorable Kenoforiata, one, there is nothing before the court. He hasn't been charged. No, who ignited that?
No, currently as we speak, there are formal criminal charges filed by the Office of the Special Prosecutor against Mr. Kenoforiata and others before the criminal court of Ghana.
Been said on him.
It cannot be accurate, say, Rebecca Phil, there are no charges. In fact, we shared the letter from the law firm of Minka Primo, they tried to say that the American court said the charges filed are of dubious character. But that cannot be the case because the American court does not have jurisdiction to pronounce on the genuineness or otherwise of criminal charges that have competently filed before a court here.
Council Mamena was why?
Dedi kama Mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Now so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.